Hey guys, Sugar Bear John here, and we're back with another video. And in today's video, we're going to go over Raider IO's recap of Battle for Azeroth. This is a cool new feature. Earlier in the week, Dratnos on YouTube had uploaded his version of this particular website, and I decided to give it a try and wanted to upload it for you guys to see what I did this past expansion. So here you go. In order to get into this, you basically just need to go to Raider.io, create a profile if you haven't already done so, and then somewhere on the home screen you should be able to click on Battle for Azeroth review, and then it says to refresh your battle.net and then generate your Battle for Azeroth review. So here we go. This is my first time looking at this, so let's do this together. So as we scroll down here, we'll see the first thing that we're looking at is raid bosses defeat. So with raid bosses defeated, it's just going to tell us how many kills we got, it looks like, on normal, heroic, and mythic. Now, I started Battle for Azeroth a little bit late. I had moved into a new house, I didn't have a PC set up, and my laptop wasn't working. So I didn't get too many kills on the older tier, as you can see here, only 41. I will say throughout Battle for Azeroth as a whole, these are actually some pretty low numbers compared to what Dratnos posted and what other people are probably seeing on their numbers. Mainly because I wasn't too interested in rating itself, this expansion. I was more into a lot of Mythic Plus, which I'm sure we're going to see as we scroll down. This is the first actual raid tier that I did this entire expansion, full all the way through, and took it seriously, which was the Battle for Dazar'alor. This was my favorite raid because it was very unique, it was very fun. I liked the whole Horde Alliance swap, and the Mythic Jaina fight was really done. It was super awesome. 97 boss kills. Of those kills, 17 were Mythic bosses. So I spent some time there. I was in between guilds. I was doing a little bit of, started off as a Blood DK, but then the guild fell apart, so I had to switch over to my Mage to get into a group pretty quickly. So I played most of this raid tier as a Frost Mage. Crucible of Storms, 6 kills. It didn't take me very long to get through Crucible of Storms because there's only 2 bosses. There wasn't many upgrades in there for me as Frost Mage or my DK, so I didn't go in there too many times. And I actually got the heroic boss down within, like, I think it was like a week or 2. So after that, I just didn't see the point of going in there anymore because Battle for Dazar'alor had more, it had better gear for my characters. The Eternal Palace came around, and this is kind of when I transitioned. I still stayed on in the team that I was doing with Battle for Dazar'alor. We didn't really push too much of Crucible of Flame, but then in Eternal Palace, we decided to push a little harder. As you can see here, this was the most kills out of the entire expansion in a raid tier that you see here. We actually were pretty serious killed, but I actually ended up not meshing too well with them. So we got quite a few heroic boss kills down. They were just a little too, like, pushy and rude. So I decided that I didn't want to be part of their team. So I went back to my guild that I'm currently in, and I'm currently in the GM, back on Tychondrius, which is something chill. And from there, I did maybe a couple more boss kills, but I really got into more Mythic Plus at that time, and I switched back to my Death Knight full time and ditched the Mage. Nihilith Awakened City, didn't get too many kills here. The only Mythic boss kills that I actually got were like the first like 2 or 3 bosses, just to try to get some upgrades because pug groups were doing them all the time. So I was like, I might as well hop in there and get a couple upgrades for my DK. But as you can see here, I didn't really go in there very much. I wasn't on a raiding team. The guild that I had created was just mainly strictly Mythic Plus, and so as you can see here, didn't really care too much about raiding at this point. So in total, I've downed 329 bosses across the entire Battle for Azeroth expansion. Some people do that in one raid tier, but that was me in this expansion. Okay, as we scroll down here, raid progression and duration, it took you 87 days to complete Nihilith of the Awakened City. Which raid did you clear the fastest? Crucible of Storms is 7 days. Yeah, Crucible of Storms makes sense because it was a raid that, again, it was 2 bosses. To me, it didn't seem that hard. I actually remember going in there also with the pug group, and we cleared it. I just got a bunch of friends on my battle.net friends list, and we went in there and we cleared it pretty quickly. And again, there wasn't many upgrades in there, so didn't spend too much time there. Looks like it took me the longest to clear Nyloth of the Awakened City, and it wasn't because this raid tier was hard, but it was just like I just mentioned. I didn't actually care too much about going in there, and I didn't have a guild that actually pushed Nyloth of the Awakened City. I was way too involved into doing plus. And again, Old Deer was something we didn't really even get to complete all of AOTC because I came into the expansion late. We didn't really form a raid group, and when we did, we got really close we got to the last boss on Heroic, almost got AOTC, but we missed it by 1 week. I'm pretty sure we got the kill the following week, but we didn't do it. So Old Deer, can't really say much on there. Battle for Dazar'alor, 5 raid resets, 25 days, about a month there, a week there, about a month there, and then this one I just didn't care too much about, so there's that. Okay, so here we go. This is where I spent most of my time in Battle for Azeroth. It was a Mythic Plus, doing a bunch of Mythic Plus runs. Again, Season 1, I guess we can ignore it because I didn't really spend too much time in there. And I didn't do anything over a 10. I did +2 to 9s, as you can see here. So I didn't even deal with Infested whatsoever, so I'll just skip over that one. Season 2 Reaping was a pretty fun fix, but I also remember I didn't take Mythic Plus seriously. I just wanted to do +10s to 12s because that was like the highest gear that you got from dungeons, Mythic Plus dungeons, and I just wanted my Frost Mage to stay up to par with the guild group that I was in. I was pretty successful in timing my runs, as you can see, 74% timed runs. But again, didn't do too much. It was a fun fix though. Season 3 is when I got really heavily into more Mythic Plus, but it was towards the end of the expansion, the end of the season. And this was after spending like 3 months kind of dealing with the guild group that I didn't really care about. And then when I went back to my guild and kind of got it back out of the grave, so to speak, I wanted it to be Mythic Plus focused. So I spent a lot of my time towards the end of Season 3 trying to pick up strats, and me and a friend, I think it was like me and 2 friends, actually started picking up doing groups together. Season 4, as you can see, was my most successful season. I did 554 runs in all of Season 4. Again, I only had about 1 or 2 friends to run with, mainly 1. So most of this was pug groups, as you can see here. In time, 65.5%, which isn't very impressive, but I didn't have a team. I wish I had a team to run more with, but I would say that's pretty successful. I timed more than I didn't in pug groups, so that's nice. Plus 20s and up. This was the first season out of all of them that I actually was timing 20s. I had timed quite a few 20s, actually, 53, and I timed a couple 21s. That was the highest I got. I didn't get anything above 21, unfortunately. Again, my son was born around the time where I had gotten to like my max Raider IO, which I'm sure we'll see here. And I stopped pushing after that. So around June 30th, I really stopped pushing seriously when he was born. So 926 total runs. Put another way, you've run over 22 days worth of Mythic Plus in Battle for Azeroth. So almost a month of my life was spent doing dungeons. So if you were in one of my pug groups, it's good spending my life with you. Scrolling on down, moving on up. And this is no surprise. So this just shows my most popular specs. Blood DK. I'm a Blood DK Death Knight main through and through. That's my class. I'm going to main in Shadowlands. 614 runs on my Blood DK. I had a lot of fun with Blood DK, although it wasn't the best tank in the entire expansion for Mythic Plus. But here I am playing the beta classes and the D F tier for Mythic Pluses. As you can see here, my second most ran dungeons was on my Protection Warrior. So you can see if you're just new to the channel and you're just checking me out, I do a lot of tanking. That's what I do, mainly Blood DK, a little bit of Prot Warrior tank. I don't spend a bunch of time in the game, so it's not like I have like all 6 tanks or 5 tanks here. I forgot if there's 5 or 6 up here, because I just kind of like mainly just stick to one class and go with it, and kind of dabble in a couple other ones here. Frost Mage, not a surprise. It's up here because, like I had said, I did quite a few runs in Season 2 to keep up with the raid team. Resto Shaman, quite a few runs on the Resto Shaman. This was towards the end of Season 3, and I had actually had almost had a change of heart of maining a DK and switching hard to Resto Shaman in Season 4, and I'm actually really glad that I didn't. Now, I will say, I still was playing the worst tank, quote unquote, out of the entire tier of tanks for Mythic Plus, but I'm actually really glad I didn't switch to Resto Shaman, A, because I love my Death Knight. I would have missed it, and B, I didn't actually see really any Resto Shamans in any groups above like a plus 15. So I would have probably gotten accepted into like no dungeons if I had switched to my Resto Shaman, unless I actually had a group. Fire Mage is up there. Unholy Dk, 28 runs. These are all about the same. I dabbled into some of these DPS's specs when I just kind of felt like I didn't want to tank. But as you can see, it was mainly tank. And then here's Guardian, Druid, and Resto, 2, 5. I mean, I mainly did tanking on my Blood DK this entire expansion, and quite a few on my Warrior. So, moving on here. And here is my Mythic Plus scores. So, as we can see here, again, Season 1, we can just kind of ignore that because I came really late. Season 2, didn't really care again. I didn't care about IO. I was just all about keeping up with my gear for the raid team. So 1233 was fine, and I feel accomplished with that because I went in there wanting to time all of the dungeons on a plus 10, and I did that plus a little bit more. I timed a couple 11s and 12s, and I think a couple 13s. And like it shows here, but maybe it'll show on a different slide. But I timed a couple 12s and maybe a 13 or 2. I remember in this season 3, I had kind of made a point to myself after I had quit that raid team to really try and push for 1500 IO, and I started pushing with my friend at the time, and towards the end of the expansion I just wanted to time everything on a 15, and I did, and I actually ended up starting to time some 16s and 17s. So again, I just wanted a 1500 IO, and it ended up being a 1734, and then that's when I started realizing like maybe I had some potential to push higher. As you can see here, I got up to 3200 in Season 4, The Awakened, for Battle for Azeroth. Now I got up to 3100, almost 3200 by June. Again, this was all in pug groups, and so I'm pretty proud of it. And I know this is nothing to be like amazed by, because people are like 4, 5, 6, 7 KIO. But I didn't have a group, and most of my pug runs, as you can see, I only in time 53.8%, or this is just for that 1 week. Okay. But I probably didn't time that many in pug groups, but I'm pretty happy that I was able to do 3200 on one of the worst tanks. And I did get accepted to a lot of runs that I probably would have gotten accepted to on my prop warrior had I played that more. But I'm happy with this because I just went in with the mindset of wanting to hit 2K, and then I quickly realized 2K was too easy of a goal, so I went to 2500. That was too easy of a goal, and then it was 3K. And by the time I hit 3K, I wanted to push more, but then, like I said, my son was born on June 30th. Took time off from the game, came back and started streaming, and then when I came back, I didn't really push. I maybe pushed this up like 100 points. I had ended at like 3100, and we're looking at 3200. I'm not pushing anymore, and I didn't care for it after June. But definitely look for me to crush this number come Shadowlands, because I definitely want to give Mythic Plus a really good go, more than I did in this season. So your most run dungeons. Okay, so here we go. I guess this is going by how many times you ran dungeons, and I guess it's looking at how often we timed it. So Atal'Dazar was my most ran dungeon, surprisingly. 60% in time. I think that's mainly due to the fact that in Season 4, Atal'Dazar got really, really hard to time. So I do think I had more success Season 2 and 3 timing this, and a little bit of like the lower key season 4. But once the obelisk, once we got into higher keys and the timer was tighter, the obelisk kind of got in the way. Underrot, pretty successful here, 71%. That's not too bad. 7 out of 10 dungeons I timed out of 93 runs. So nothing too crazy there, but that's good to see that I was pretty successful there. Freehold. Now, Freehold was a dungeon that most people ran over and over and over again, and it was actually one of the easiest dungeons. Unfortunately, I didn't get into too many. It is in my top 3, only because a lot of people would always queue up for it, but I wish I would have gotten to more Freeholds, but 78% success rate so far, that's the highest one. Pretty easy dungeon. And actually, the next one looks like I was a bit more successful in Waycrest Manor, 78.4%. I do remember Waycrest Manor not being too troublesome for me. And now we're coming up to Toldgor, 58.1%. I am not shocked by that number. I hated Toldgor. It was probably one of the worst dungeons in the entire expansion. There was a lot of F-ups, and there was a big learning curve on like what route was the best on what week, because there were so many different variables that happened in there. There was the Sanguine that was hard. Bolstering was sometimes hard. Well, Bolstering's always hard. Tyrannical weeks were really hard. There was a lot of scuffed keys because we had a perfect route, and then people would screw up the last 2 bosses and die too much. But anyways, I don't want to talk too much about Toldgor because I already hate it, so moving on. Temple of Sithralis, 77.6%. Still Waycrest Manor's the top. Still pretty high though. Temple of Sithralis was actually a pretty good dungeon, so I can see that. The Motherlode, another successful dungeon at 76.7%. Motherlode I didn't really have any trouble with, obviously. King's Rest. King's Rest was my favorite dungeon in the entire expansion. Go figure. Surprisingly, I liked it the most. Pretty successful at it, 72.9% of my runs. So yeah, I liked King's Rest. I'm in the minority here. I wish I would have ran a bit more of King's Rest because I liked it a lot, but I think a lot of people didn't want to run King's Rest, which is why I didn't get a lot of King's Rest. And let's not talk about Shrine of Storms, 56.5% success rate, and it's one of the least run dungeons. No surprise there that Shrine of the Storm and Toldgor were my least timed dungeons, so I think a lot of people kind of can see why and agree with. Oh my god. So Siege of Borealis was the worst timed dungeon, 49.2%, surprisingly. So I timed more Shrine of the Storms and Toldgor's. Siege of Borealis, surprisingly, one of the worst dungeons I ran. So 49.2%. I'm a little scratching my head on that one, but I guess it was hard for most of the pugs I got into. And then we have Workshop, 76.8%. That's no surprise. Pretty high percentage of success there. It's a pretty easy dungeon on most weeks. And then surprisingly, Junkyard was a 67% only. I guess Junkyard, I guess the pugs I were in, you know, now thinking about it, they did kind of mess up quite a bit. Or I guess we all messed up quite a bit. Once you lose bots in that dungeon and you die, it's kind of hard to kind of recoup that time. Unless you're kind of deep in the dungeon and there's bots just laying around. But if you kind of die after getting your first set of bots, it's kind of hard because you have to fight your way through an extra set of mobs to unlock a new set of bots. So 67.3%. Closest time key, plus 20 Temple of Sithralis. I'm actually surprised that Siege of Borealis is not here because I specifically remember 2 Siege of Borealis runs where we literally shot the cannon at the last second. And so no, Dratnos, you're not the only one that had that experience. We had it twice on a plus 19. I remember timing it at the last second, and a plus 20. So I'm actually surprised. I don't actually remember this plus 20 Temple of Sithralis that we timed in 0.9 seconds. I thought the Siege of Borealis was closer, but I guess there was a 20 Temple that we timed at the very, very last second. 69.1% timer left on the fastest key. Waycrest, okay. I mean, it's a plus 2. Of course, it's going to be by the fastest key timed. Looks like Mythic Plus buddies. Okay, this is the guy. This is my best Mythic Plus friend. The entire well, it looks like season 4. Okay, so Hasty Chaos. This is the man right here. I remember we had such a blast pushing keys together. So 221 runs together. This was the guy. Haynofa, and then Lockin and Lockwill, same person, another friend of mine, but not as many runs. I remember all these guys. We had some good times in Battle for Azeroth. If you guys haven't done this thing on the site, I definitely recommend you guys do it. But yeah, Hasty Chaos, shout out to you, brother. Love you, man. We had a good time. Season 3, still up there with Law. To my other friend Law, and season 1 not much. But that's I think it. So if you guys like the video, hit that thumbs up button. If you have any comments, anything interesting that you found in the video, or if you have any questions about the video itself, go ahead and comment down below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Helps me so much and supports the channel a lot. So without further ado, I will see you guys in that next video. Thanks.